What is going on, guys? Craig 1287 here, bringing you some Battlefield 4 gameplay. Got some random gameplay going on there in the background, and yet again having to postpone my ACWR review because there's just been so much stuff coming out. I'm actually somewhat hesitant on doing some of these reviews because of all the patch balancing that they are going to be doing, but it doesn't look like a lot of the stuff is going to apply to the weapon types and things that I plan to review. So there are 3 different articles that DICE have released over the past few days. All 3 links will be provided in the video description below, but they have released the somewhat details on what they plan to patch and balance soon when they do release their patch for Battlefield 4. They've got the article talking about some of the vehicle tweaks that was released on the 27th. Then they have on the 29th, I don't know why they released both these on the same day, but they've got the soldier weapon, just primary weapons, and then later in the day they released their upcoming pistol tweaks that they're going to be making. So as for the vehicle tweaks, they're going to be making some serious changes to the anti-air, the mobile anti-air. They're going to be drastically reducing the velocity of the 20mm cannon. Now, this is sad for me. I do enjoy the mobile anti-air. I wish that they would just seriously hamper or nerf the, what was those rockets? The active radar missiles, which they have, pretty drastically, but I wish they would have left the 20mm cannons alone, or at least the main reason they did the velocity change was because people were able to sit in the uncaps and stay in those bases and shoot at things from afar. Now, yeah, you could probably hit a helicopter, but things like a jet are really tough to hit at a distance when they get away from you. And so seeing this is going to make it's going to make it very difficult to accurately lead jet targets. So I kind of wish they just decreased the effective range and still kept the velocity up. But the 30mm cannon is going to be untouched in this regard. It's still going to be, well, it's actually now at the same velocity. So now that it's the same velocity, I am probably going to try the 30mm out again and see how that rolls. I initially didn't like it because of the velocity, but now the primary reason I didn't use it is kind of gone away. So probably going to be using that a lot more now. They've also reduces the physical impact of the anti-aircraft missiles, so helicopters not going to flip as often. I actually like this as an anti-air person, because way too often I would shoot these things and cause choppers to flip. They would just crash, and I would get no credit for any of the kills. So it was nice that I got the air out of the air, but it's always nice to get credit and XP to help with unlocking things and the such. Then they are, like I said, going to be reducing the active radar missiles. They're going to be lowering the cone at which they start to lock onto the target. So you are going to have to be much more accurate and better in assuming and leading your targets. That's definitely going to cut down on their effectiveness, especially at range and against things like jets. Helicopters, still I can imagine, are going to be easy to hit with them, but jets are going to be less often hit. They're increasing the direct damage done by attack helicopter gunners. So that's actually really nice. I have noticed that those things do suck against vehicles, and so hopefully this will cause people to target vehicles with them more often and take a little of the pain off of the infantry. They are increasing the direct hit damage of the Zuni rockets on the attack choppers. Haven't unlocked them, so I can't really comment on that, but apparently not too many people used them. Now maybe they will. They are reducing the splash damage and the maximum splash damage range of the Scout helicopter's 25mm cannons. Very happy to hear this. I've been using the Scout chopper a lot, and I've noticed that it is very easy to just tear through infantry with these 25mm cannons. So sadly, it doesn't look like they're wanting to increase their direct damage against vehicles. I'm hoping that they do buff their effectiveness against vehicles. but it doesn't say anything like that there, so it kind of looks like it's just a straight up pure nerf against infantry. So, mixed feelings on that one. And then finally, the tanks and anti-tank stuff, they're reducing the quote-unquote intelligence of the law missiles. That makes sense. The laws have been pretty ridiculous against the tanks, and they're now fixing a issue in which active protection didn't properly shield against the law. If you guys remember my tips and tricks video that I did a little while back, I mentioned that you can actually drive the tank in a underground area, and the laws would end up hitting the ceiling and instead of your tank. But hey, now this is fixed, so you don't even have to worry about that. They fixed an issue where active protection in the MP apps, that deployable thing by the sport class, did not properly stop 12 gauge frag rounds. Who really cares about that? Reduce the range of the M2 slam, so that the max damage is now done at from 6 meters down to 3 meters, so they don't deal as much. I really don't feel that this is effective. The reasoning for doing this was because the M2 slams were being used much more often than the M15 anti-tank mine. I think that's mostly just because the anti-tank mine just doesn't do enough damage. There's a lot of cases in which it takes 3 of the anti-tank mines to fully kill certain vehicles, which is the same as the M2 slam. And why would you use the mine that can only be placed down on the ground, whereas the slam can be chucked out like C4, can be tossed on walls, vehicles, can be tossed under bridges and blow up boats. So I don't think that was the proper way for them to approach that, but hey, what do I know? I'm not a developer. Finally, they reduced the damage of the staff shell to 25%. Even though I use this a lot the only time I really use tanks is to combat other tanks. So I'm a little sad to know this because I've used it a lot, but I do recognize that it was probably a little too effective. Basically, all these smart weapons that lock on to their targets at the latest amount, they've pretty much realized that they made those things a little too effective. So all those kind of received nerfs. So that's what the changes they did to the vehicles. Next, they have their primary weapon changes. Could have seen this coming. The DMRs, I don't know if what they're doing with the DMRs are making them a little too effective. They haven't released any just hard details, just very vague, broad statements. So it's hard to say how much of a buff this is, but DMRs are going to receive a increased damage across all ranges, so close, medium, and far. Specifically, damage is being increased at long ranges to allow 3-hit kills against unarmored opponents. I'm glad they comment that it is unarmored, because I now run the defense spec on all of my soldier classes because of the armor. I hate getting sniped, and I don't like getting one-shotted, so it'll still be probably a 4-shot kill if you're wearing armor. They're also reducing the penalty to accuracy for sustained DMR fire, allowing for more rapid follow-up shots. That I'm a little pissed to hear, because that DMR stuff, people spam that way too fast, I think, already. Just freaking hearing that, it's just aggravating, but I'm not too happy about that. The amount of damage increase varies from weapon to weapon. So again, this is very vague, broad statements. Things like their intended range, rate of fire, and already what their current damage is are all going to come into effect as to how much they buff their damage and at what ranges. So DMRs, you're going to see a lot more of them after this patch. Pump action shotguns. This is probably the thing that I fear the most out of all of these changes. Increase the accuracy of pump shotguns while on the move and aiming. So aiming down sight. Hip fire is not going to be effective just on the move and while aiming down sight. The accuracy has been approximately doubled. These weapons did not have any viable barrels or grips that would allow players to enhance their aimed accuracy. This change should make the use of pump action weapons with slugs much more viable at medium and close range. Alright, frickin' with flechette rounds and buckshot with a full choke is deadly when aiming down sight at ranges. So I don't know where they're coming up with this. I get one shot at crazy ranges when I'm at 100% health by these types of weapons with the full choke. So I really don't know where they're. I guess they have data that shows otherwise, but I'm just really cautious on the occurrence of being one shot by these things much more often now. But hey, and I guess I'll have to just switch to it and give the opponent a taste of their own medicine. They're going to be changing some of the, well, very small change to carbines. They're reducing the long-range damage of the MTAR to bring it in line with the rest of the carbines. That's pretty much it. I guess that was just kind of a bug or a mishap on their behalf. Then in general, they've adjusted the way that inaccuracy is handled when transitioning from hipfire to aimfire. They've got a pretty lengthy paragraph there. Basically, if you started shooting in hipfire and then went to aim down sight and you were still shooting, you were starting your aim down sight accuracy at a disadvantage because it was still going to be at the hipfire. They're kind of making some changes here. It's hard to tell exactly what they mean with what they say here. We'll just have to see how that turns out in game. I'll probably do a video specifically on that. I should probably go ahead and record some footage showing that right now in its current state for comparison's sake. So, but basically, LMG players, it's going to be a lot easier for you to panic fire once this patch comes out. Heavy barrel. Now, the heavy barrel has been almost non-existent in use in Battlefield 4. It just, the amount of recoil that it increases, since most of the weapons in Battlefield 4 have more recoil than they did in Battlefield 3, it doesn't seem like it's worth it. I personally don't use it on almost any of my weapons, and I really don't think this change that they're making here is going to make all that much of a difference. They state that the heavy barrel's accuracy bonus now applies on the move at reduced bonus. So basically, you're still going to have a crap ton of recoil, but I don't know. I really don't think that what they're doing there is going to help too much. They need to reduce the added recoil that heavy barrel adds for it to really truly see more adoption in game. And then finally, synchronized the timing of the aim down sights animation of sniper rifles with their ability to fire with full accuracy. Basically, the animation of when you were fully scoped in didn't really match with. It's kind of like that hipfire thing. The transition of aiming down sight, you weren't getting the pure aim down sight accuracy. They put a note in here. There's still a delay to achieve full accuracy, so quick scoping is still not possible. So, yeah, not too much of a change there. And then finally, on the pistol tweaks that they are going to be doing, increase the aimed accuracy of the M1911 to make it a viable choice once the Compact 45 has been unlocked. And with the player appreciation thing, everybody can unlock all of the pistols. So good thing that they're going to be making the M1911 a little more viable as a long-range death delivery device. And then they've also increased the close-range damage of the M1911, the QSZ-92, the FN-57, the CZ-75, and the Compact 45. So they're actually kind of helped the Compact 45 here in this regard. So I think that'll still probably be the best pistol. But yeah, this will allow all pistols to bypass body armor at close range. And additionally, the FN-57 and the QSZ-92 have had their long-range damage increased to allow them to properly bypass body armor at all distances. Finally, the CZ-75 has also had its long-range damage raised to give it a diverse role amongst the handguns. So handguns are going to be a little more viable, what it seems like overall, or at least the semi-auto ones. I'm surprised they didn't do any changes for the M993 Raffica or the G18 or the Shorty. No changes to them. But here is a change to the revolvers. Reduce the delay between pressing the trigger and the bullet firing for the M412 Rex and 44 Magnum. This delay represents the way these weapons work in real life while also improving their responsiveness in game. So a lot of people didn't use them because once you actually click to shoot them, there's a slight delay. That's because in real life, when you pull the trigger, it pulls the hammer back, and then the hammer has to fall all the way back to its initial position to slam on the back of the bullet, the primer, and that just sucked in video game settings. So it seems like they are trying to counter that, but there will still be somewhat of a delay. Kind of nice, seeing as how those guns are very, very powerful. and this delay makes it a little harder for you to time those headshots properly, and yeah, so those might see a little bit more use. Increase the magazine capacity of the QSZ-92 to 20 rounds, the proper amount for the weapon in real life. Additionally, reduce the recoil of the QSZ-92 to give it a clear difference from the FN57. So that's pretty cool. Haven't actually used that pistol much, but I'll be interested to see how it handles, because I've actually been using the FN57 a little bit lately, so that's nice that it'll be a little more distinct from the FN57. And finally, corrected a small error with the Compact 45. Accuracy when crouched or prone. The weapon was accidentally less accurate than intended. So, yeah, they're just kind of fixing a bug there with the Compact 45. So, lots and lots of changes. Again, a lot of these are very, very broad. We don't have any specific numbers. We'll just have to see once this all comes out. I'm sure SimThick will do an update to everything, and we can see what the hard numbers are. And until then, we'll just have to mess around and use the weapons in-game. So, hope you guys have enjoyed this. Holy crap, now 16-minute long video. If you've stayed to this point, you're a trooper, you're a saint and a savior. And I hope you guys, well, I mean, if you stayed around, I'm guessing you did enjoy it. But either way, I hope you have enjoyed the gameplay going on there in the background, and have enjoyed all of my talking. And I can't wait to talk more about the specific details once these patches hit. Hope you guys have enjoyed all of it. Have a good one. Ta-ta.